Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio once again our friend, Professor Okey Ikechukwu. Prof, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Professor Okey Ikechukwu is the Executive Director of Development Specs Academy, and he's a member of the think tank of Terra. We have been working together for a better Nigeria. Today I want us to discuss what's happening with the political party system in Nigeria. At this point in time, as we are talking, Labour Party is in trouble, right? PDP is in trouble. APC itself is in trouble to the extent that even the chairman is fighting, and the chairman of the party is fighting to survive in the, as to whether he should be suspended or whatever to answer charges, allegation of corruption and so on and so forth. Do we really have political parties in Nigeria? I mean, while all that is happening to Labour Party, PDP, APC, then you have a character that is very powerful both in APC and PDP.
Okay.
Yeah, it's powerful in both parties. What's going on?
Well, first of all, a political party is a platform for creating an ideology on public administration.
Public administration.
Such that if you have access to public office, you deploy those ideologies for development. Which means that members of a party ought to be individuals who have the same ideas about the state, about development.
About where we are going as a country.
Yes. And to that extent, parties are real, parties are necessary. But then we have a dysfunctionality where you have, under the name of political parties, interests that you cannot describe to be ideologically driven development focused interests.
And you have strange bedfellows that ideologically you cannot put them together.
But they have an ideology that brought them together.
Oh, there is, okay.
To acquire public office and use it to get money. So you see that there's a subversive ideological base holding most of the political elite together. That's why whenever you have issues of corruption, you do not find any ethnic or religious divide.
No.
There's what you might call synergy. If I've planned a looting and I'm from Katsina State, this other person is from Bayelsa, the other, and this one is a Christian, we don't quarrel. No, I can't loot with you, you're a Muslim. No. Do you get? So that's about that. Now, looking at the parties as they exist, one of the questions to ask perhaps is, the APC today, what percentage of APC members and leadership were not PDP members in the past? So, is there a party called APC, distinct from PDP, distinct from all the others? Or is it a question of the elite shopping for where they will find space for relevance, rather than a title under which they can drive ideology and development?
I mean, you go to the US, it is very easy to see who is a Republican. Then you go to Democrats, you know what they stand for. Here, what does PDP stand for? What does APC stand for?
And what does the opposition represent?
Yes.
And let me talk on the opposition before I come back to that. Today, APC is said to be the opposition.
PDP is the opposition.
And then Labour
they too are
supposed to be the opposition. What is political opposition? You've contested on an ideological platform. I don't agree with the ideology. You set up a government, appointed ministers. I set up a shadow government, shadow cabinet, which I did excellently. So your minister is talking about tiring roads from here to the end of the world, the coastal road. And my party comes out, probably we notice that the idea of the road is good. We start by endorsing it. We talk about the economic benefits. We point out that the cost is unrealistic. We point out that you can do one phase up to this point, etc. Now, those listening to both of us come to the conclusion that the opposition is serious. I'm preparing for the next election the moment I lost this one. Now, that's what we have from the opposition. In fact, the most articulate intervention of PDP since it lost power was its response to that coastal road.
Coastal road, yes.
The details,
yes.
Everything. Very impressive. I admire Atiku for it. But before then, it's only press releases and the saying of Waka. oh, they have done this, is not good. The worst and most pathetic case is Labour Party. You see, Labour nearly got the presidency.
Nearly, yes.
Not because it was a political party with cohesion, synergy, and spread, but because of somebody. Now, that didn't happen. Labour is not building itself. It's not being built. And if you look at what he calls opposition, it's idle chatter. P2B media, I think, something. The press releases are good, but they need to go far beyond that. The party has
what has happened afterwards shows that indeed there was really no Labour Party.
Thank you. Because what did I tell them? Have a rally every quarter. It doesn't have to be national rally. You have a rally in Kwara State. You have a rally in wherever. You're bringing people together, because what cost you that election was the fact that you had no capacity for engagement, and somebody must secure a boot for you. Now, turning it around to the element of opposition, are their party offices functional? Are they meeting? Obedience all over the place, but are they warehoused?
In fact, it's only recently that I got to hear that PDP has not had a meeting since before the election.
No, but it's not a party. It's an organization where there are some individuals who can do or say what they want and will pretend it's PDP. That's why I've always said, since he lost power, PDP is not building itself. The disposition, I may be mistaken, but the disposition is there are a couple of people active in the PDP. They are more interested in who to exclude than who to bring in. Oh, it's our own. And they're hoping to get into our and secure offices. And that's why you also find that they can bring in people who they don't see as aspiring also to hold office. They don't know what it means to go and pay for capacity to build a party. So we have political parties, but they are power acquisition platforms. That's what we call parties, unlike in the other
Then all the others, we had 18 political parties last year for the election, right? All the other 15 parties, we are hardly hearing anything about them, as if they have gone into oblivion.
The question is, what were we hearing about them before the elections? They are not parties in that strict and proper sense because they don't have the financial muscle. If you also look at some who contested, from the angle, many of them extreme idealism, like some of our mutual friends who went into this sort of thing. Nobody needed to be told that they will fall. Not only will fall, there will be no pieces to pick up afterwards because they didn't understand the operating environment. They thought that knowledge of policy was sufficient to drive an election. When people you're talking with, most of them don't know what policy means because it's when you implement it, they understand, but you have to acquire power. When you don't have the resources to run a campaign, when you don't have the resources to handle your travel costs just to run elections, when with your knowledge of policy, you assume that the man in Jigawa or the man in Anambra who has never gone beyond the state capital will vote for you when he doesn't know who you are. Even those who are visible at the national level. And I recall in 2019, I think it was 2019, 2019 or thereabout. You remember, Sule Lamido came out and wanted to contest. Before that, he had asked people, so I was approached where to run the presidential campaign for him. I said, Your Excellency, to run a campaign means I will take responsibility. If I help you by whatever means to get into power, I take responsibility for what happens when you're in office. And so I need to know you, sir. So we went, I said, Michael, we spent 3 days with him in Bamaina. That was his hometown. From me, at the personal level, I need to see the man without blinkers. I need to see somebody. And I did, Ojo Maduekwe, when he asked me to be minister, to be his aide, it was the same thing. I've never worked with anybody I wasn't convinced I could obey. In fact, in the case of Ojo, the first time he asked, what would you say to be my AC? I said, it would never have it crossed my mind. He said, well, I'm asking you to, so what do you say? I said, give me a little time to think. A life decision, if it's not your calling, will ruin you. He said, okay, like how much? I said, 3 months. He said, what? Aren't you being cheeky? Went on. You know, he's a bit temperamental. You know what it means to be, to Minister of Transport? I said, sir, I didn't apply for a job. The truth is that I don't know who you are. As your special assistant, I must know you and obey you unconditionally. If, for instance, as you always say, you ask me to go and kill somebody, Minister, I will not obey you. Ojo burst out laughing. He said, what? My friend, you're painfully honest. Look, you're sitting with me and you say I could possibly be a murderer, you know. But taking it up to that place, Lamido was like a deity. Was going to mosque, you would think he was coming back after So I said, sir, how can you lose the election? How can your party lose here? Do you know why I said no? I say you have admirers and praise singers and no disciples. You're a disciple of Aminu Kano. You could make sacrifice because you understand the ideological this, but they admire you as a hero. So the next person that came with something for them to eat and gave them money,
they will follow.
They are not disciples. But that's not the main strength of the conversation. I said, this man is not known. You know, Sule Lamido is a towering political figure. But go to Bayelsa and mention Sule Lamido.
Mention his name.
Go to Anambra. I said, what I would suggest and I'm ready to do is to help you develop the youth so that the loss doesn't recur. You have a 9 bungalow. There's a guest house he had, unoccupied basically, which was, I said, look, every month let there be a rally. Bring all the youth leaders. I'll come in from Abuja. No cost. But the mentoring program, we must have somebody who can translate it also into Hausa as I speak. That beyond that, I think that's what I told Mike, that there's no presidential destiny. So that tells you but he was convinced and he was campaigning. But where was he campaigning? In the north? Now, what point am I leading up to? Those who think they can change Nigeria, particularly our very intelligent friends, must realize they don't understand this country.
The practicalities.
They don't know the country. And if you, okay, what's the superior air? You know, you remember one of them is a man, you could see he was going for an event. Somebody was holding an umbrella for him. Now, a girl who is about younger than his last child is a woman. A woman is holding an umbrella to shield you from the sun. Respect for a woman who doesn't exist, and you can't hold the umbrella? You see, these are subtle things that tell you they are not cut out for the kind of leadership that will get to the grassroots. And they misunderstood themselves. Instead of realizing that they should operate at the level of awakening the consciousness.
You have just said something that strikes me. In the 21st century, you still have a lot of our political leaders or aspiring political leaders operating like primitive feudal lords.
Thank you.
Sorry,
one more. Including those who are presumed to be enlightened.
Yes.
Who are presumed to love the youths.
Yes, now. They are operating like primitive feudal lords. You have situations where you have some government official, meaning policeman carrying handbag of somebody. You have people running around. You have, this thing about, tell me, how come that it is like statutory in Nigeria? This is about some police officer standing behind somebody when somebody is talking. How did it become normative in Nigeria?
Remember, there's a combination of several protocols. You have military protocol, you have strict diplomatic protocol. You have a time where you have a circumstance under which you have the flag at a certain level in the military, which you don't have in formal state protocol. You have the bugle you will blow for one reason or the other. So, in the years of military rule, there has been that mix-up and combination.
Now, but we left military rule, we took on democracy in 1999.
But we took most of the reflexes. You see,
I as somebody involved in the media, I consider it such a terrible distraction when somebody who may be more huge than the government official is standing and a towering person behind
him. Yes. Now, the question, what is he protecting him from? The best security is invisible security.
Yes.
When you have state functions at Eagle Square, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, the president is coming, maybe chief of all the service chiefs, and then have the security people with massive overcoat, loaded with all kinds of. You don't do that. Okay, you can but look at it. Now, that place is not too far from Federal Secretariat, right?
Yeah.
If all your security are visible, of course, there are other places you can't see. The illusion that is visible security that protects you ignores the fact that the visible security is the fastest and easiest to take out.
Yes.
Each one bullet. And so, and it's taken very seriously. You've come for an event, somebody comes, does things, he's checking to see there's no bomb in the event, on your chair, and he's standing on the chair when you're talking, he's behind you. It complicates also the life of the person in public office because he loses the capacity for simplicity in his engagements. And that's why many people, when they leave office, you see they flounder.
There's an emptiness.
They no longer, they've lost most of their social reflexes because they allow themselves to get accustomed to these things. And you look back, how did Jakonde live as governor? How did Emeaghi Okpara live? How did Tafawa Balewa live? Among so many of the other things. The, why is it that today we speak of, what's the tradition, a very powerful traditional ruler from Kogi State of the past? Late, of course.
Yeah, Ataobegala or who?
Ataobegala, such people. Men who were men. Do you get it? Why do we remember them? You see that the masses have taken over the domain reserved for those who have epistemic authority. Authority based on knowledge.
Authority based on knowledge, authority based on antecedents.
Inner maturity,
and service.
Antecedents, spiritual insight. And that's why you find they don't know. Looting is actually a reflection of what you find in the lower classes of humanity.
Yes. And now it is people who are the higher echelon of our own governance that loot.
Because they in themselves are commoners. They mistake big cars for aristocratic status. They are commoners in their souls. Because accumulation, look, genuine aristocracy and elite disposition is access and use. You want to access and use a big car, not carry it. And that's why you come.
This concept is very important and significant. That looting is
the normal reflex of
the commoners.
The lowest level.
The lowest level.
Yes.
Yeah, because, look at the people who are looting during the NSAS protest. They are not the elite children that were looting. They are the common poor people in the slums that were looting. Therefore, when you now have a situation when people in positions as governors, as ministers, as DGs, when they are alleged to be looting, and some of that allegation turns out to be true, then it means we have commoners
on the ascendant. Pictures are Ahmadu Bello that is in office.
Yes.
And then you're bringing, let's share money.
Then you're talking of sharing money and looting.
Are you mad?
You will be too
Think
afraid.
of who will carry extra bag of rice. It's not such people. Hassan Katsina created the GRA in Kano, I think, under North Central. He didn't allocate a plot of land to him.
Michael Okpara created
I'm coming to Okpara. The same thing.
Yes.
He didn't. The Palm Sake to Katsina did not. Emeaghi Okpara, the same thing. Jakonde lived in his house. Do you get it? Now, these are men who feel diminished. Why are you bringing 200 million for me? I don't need
You're
it.
bringing it. Ghana must go to somebody.
Carry it out. I'm busy. This is a distraction. He can pay his bills. So that sense of personal dignity where you have people who incarnated for service on that stool is being reversed. And that's why somebody will loot up to 500 billion. And so what are we leading to with all of this? Negative mentoring of the youths who think there's a connection between the amount of cash you have and happiness. There are many things, like in the school, I told you I went to 2 days ago to do orientation for those who are going to get out of WAEC. I asked them, how many of you want to own private jets? Oh, many of them raise their hands. How many of you would like to have a house in US, South Africa, UK? They raise their hands. I said, so let me educate you on how to enjoy wealth. Assuming you have enough money to buy private jet. You know you can travel whenever you like. You say yes. And say you have your private pilot. Whenever you call him, he says, yes, we are going to New York tomorrow, 19 hours flight. We stop here and say yes. I asked, is it possible your pilot can fall asleep? Everywhere was quiet. Okay, you have 2 pilots, and they just went and had a good time, and you're about to fly. Will they tell you they're slightly drunk? Everywhere was quiet. I say, if you have that kind of money and you choose to charter the entire first-class compartment of BA, first, you'll be treated like a prince. Second, BA is known to be serviced because he has mandatory compliance rules. Your private jet, those managing it can collude and look and say, it hasn't gone too bad. Charge you and it's not serviced. They were so dead quiet. I said, then the house you have in London, in a year you may even spend up to 21 days there. But each time you're coming, they have to clean it, dust it, you're paying maintenance, you're paying tenement. Whereas you can fly and go to a 5-star hotel, you're received at the airport with a limousine, you live like a prince because you can afford it. And you know what you want is to use luxury, not procure things, objects that are connected with luxury and mistake ownership for usage and access. And because there's nothing inside you, the very fact of that big car makes you look at Judge Ehusani and Okey, Ikechukwu and say, well, so you see that the concept of the masses is reversed. That's why when I attend events and you have people at a certain level, we ordinary Nigerians, I'll tell them there's no ordinary Nigerian in this room because all of you have a sense of shame. All of you have sense of propriety. There are things you'll be invited to do.
When you talk about, when people are invited like that, how you know how far Nigeria degenerated, with all your optimism, people who are supposed to give example, first of all, they almost habitually come late, right? They almost habitually come late. And when they come late, you have an event, you're going to have a panel discussion to discuss Nigeria, to discuss governance. Then the people who...
Or to sit down and listen.
They will come late. The event will be delayed for an hour because of them. Then they will give
an address, welcome address,
and go away. And half of the hall will follow them and go away because somebody wants to have opportunity to have a handshake with the bed. Half of the hall will go away. And I'm saying, such people, these are, how did you put it? These are behaviors of people, lower class people. Because I lived for a brief period in Germany. And in Germany, you are the chief, you are the minister, you are the whatever. You arrive like 30 minutes before
ahead,
and you shake everyone that is going to enter that hall at the door.
Welcoming them.
You welcome them.
Thank you.
Now, and in this country, people actually deliberately, they wait at home, send an advance party to find out. Yes, they'll be calling to find out whether the hall is full, whether people are there before you leave your house. Do we have sense of shame?
Let me even take it. You spoke of being welcomed. In our own case, as they're coming in, everybody around is being blown out of the way. No, we don't. The person, Chikelo, when they work with me, will always come ahead as Minister of Information to any event. Now, the whole culture is reversed. As a leader, you're supposed to set example by timeliness. Also, the matter of coming for an event, you come there, you've come for, say, a town hall meeting, which means you want a feedback from the people. They open the ceremony, you say hello to them, and you get up and go. The event is aborted. Because the report, you're not going to have time to read it in detail. So what needs to change in that regard, and that's part of what we do in the engagements we have, you tell them in advance, the core purpose of the event, the presentation will take place before you leave, and all of that. So it's the wrong notion of relevance in leadership, where you think your relevance is limited to visibility and not impact. And that's why you find people who will have a long tenure, but the day they leave office, nobody will remember them. Because they lived for nothing. They did nothing. They were just going to work.
So those of us who are involved in leadership formation at all levels and in all sectors, we still have a lot of work to do because our people's concept of leadership is that of conquest, really, not leadership. It's
and privilege,
privilege.
Access to privilege.
Access to, well, they conquer in order to have
access to privilege.
To privilege, yes. Anyway, we would bring this. Do you have a last word on where we are going as Nigeria?
Everybody should do something where he or she is.
Good.
Also, if you find people who are doing similar things where they are, liaise with them.
Network
Not
with
in
them.
order, yes, not in order to be called a good person, but because that's what you feel like doing. As in Igbo, they say, "Eke olu eke." That is, tasks are divided according to people's endowments and inclinations. Many people think that because of their ability to speak, they are cut out for leadership, whereas they don't have the discipline for the administration that leads to sustainable processes that will drive genuine leadership. That's an area I think the youths need to be helped to understand that the ability to complain is not a skill.
Everybody can complain.
Everybody can. Among yourselves, what are you doing? A young person starts a program, comes to tell you, "Oh, Prof, there's this thing we're doing." They present it, they leave. One or two of them sneak back to come and see if they can have an advantage over the rest. And tomorrow is in trouble when you talk about leaders of tomorrow. And it's worsened by the fact that they're following the examples of the older generation, our generation, that has been mentoring them wrongly.
On this note, we'll bring this program to an end. I've been speaking with Professor Okey, Ikechukwu, Executive Director of Development Specs Academy. He's been involved in the leadership issues of this country for almost 40 years. And he's still very optimistic, and I'm quite happy to see that he's still very, very optimistic and is still critically involved and taking some strategic steps to prepare for a better tomorrow. We keep praying for a better tomorrow. So when we say Nigeria, Quo Vadis, where are we headed? He says we are heading for the right place. It's just that it may take some time. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.